I'm Tyler Thomas, the ESP Realty, and I'm a local realtor here in the Mid-Willamette Valley of Oregon. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, invest, even just visit, I'll be glad to help you however I can. Today's video, we're going to talk about different things to consider when moving to Albany. Now, when moving somewhere new, there's of course different steps to take when decision making. The topics I'm going to cover here today should hopefully give you some insight into what you should be asking yourself to make this an easier decision. You also want to make sure that you're covering all your bases throughout this whole process. The first thing to consider is if you want to be more than the city limits or out in the country. So you want to have a large property or a smaller property. Within city limits, you're going to be probably looking at less than a quarter acre, whereas living more rural, you're going to probably have more than that quarter acre, usually about half an acre and above. Now you're going to think about what kind of expenses go along with having more land out in the country than in the city. Out in the country is more likely you're going to have that well and that septic system. Also, you might end up having a little bit less taxes and possible tax deferrals depending on what you're using the land for. Second thing to consider is the schools. Albany has a really good school district with both West and South Albany, the two high schools in the area, going through some very substantial construction in the last couple of years. Albany has 14 elementary schools, 4 middle schools, counting the one in North Albany, and 3 high schools, counting Albany Options. They also have great extracurricular activities, so things like band, choir, drama, and athletics. The third thing to consider is what kind of home are you wanting to buy? This will usually come down to whether you're wanting a stick-built home or a manufactured home. Now, each of these has their own perks. Keeping costs down will definitely go more with the manufactured home. There are quite a few different parks in town that you can get into. Also, there are a fair amount of manufactured homes with their own land sprinkled in town as well. What can be quite popular is usually more outside of town is a manufactured home on more acreage. A stick-built home will just generally maintain that value a lot more. Also, if you have a specific type of home you want, certain styles, that stick-built home will be what people go for. And that different look of the home and what kind of style people like can definitely be a factor. Fourth thing to consider is what type and how much land do you want. Now, I touched on it a little bit earlier with the first thing, and it's that if you're in city limits, you're looking at that quarter acre and less. Outside city limits, you're definitely getting that quarter acre and more. Once you get outside of city limits, most of the areas outside of town are pretty flat, so they're pretty good for agriculture or even just kind of like a hobby farm. It all comes down to which best fits your needs. The fifth thing to consider is the price. So basically, what are you hoping to get and what are you hoping to spend? Now right away, I think it's really important to go ahead and figure out what kind of a price range you can actually afford. If you can't really go ahead and do a pre-approval and you're not looking like immediately you're going to be buying a home, I think it's still a good idea to get a pre-qualification. You can't buy anything with that, but at least give you kind of an idea of what you can afford. And when you get really serious about buying a home, you can go ahead and get that pre-approval. Once you can get that pre-approval and you actually know what you can afford, you can see what your buying power is. When you do figure out what you approve for, you definitely want to stick to that number and not have other people influence you in any way with that. And you don't need to spend what you're approved for. Say you're approved for $500,000, you don't need to go looking for that. You can do like $450,000, $400,000. It's whatever actually is going to best suit your needs. There's also different strategies that can definitely affect what you can get that home for. There's things like a rate buy down, asking sellers to cover some of the closing costs or all closing costs. Things like that can definitely help. You want to rely on your realtor to ask the right questions. Something we can do is ask the listing agent to see if there's any sort of certain terms that the sellers are looking for that we can use to our advantage, like different timelines that the sellers are looking to meet. If we can work with those a little bit, the sellers don't always just want the most cash. Sometimes there's things that will also affect the overall offer. All right, there you have it. There's my 5 steps to consider when moving to Albany. My name's Tyler Thomas. Again, I'm a local realtor here in the Mid-Willamette Valley of Oregon. If you have any questions about this wonderful area, looking to buy, sell, maybe even just invest or visit, go ahead and reach out. I'll be glad to see how I can help. I'll be glad to be your local resource for all your real estate needs.